How about starting with some salutes to all of you? A double salute. Welcome to the show. This is the weekly Spinner Rack, and you may have already guessed this. You probably haven't if you've never tuned in before. My name is Chris, and I'm going to be your host today. All right, we are ready to go. Hello, folks. Oh my gosh. This is the weekly Spinner Rack where we talk about the comic book news of the week. We also review the comics of the past week. I've got a few things to say about that. I think I've got some art that I'll work on tonight. But my God, this was a week with some fascinating stories that we're going to get to. We're going to talk about one of the largest pirated comic sites out there, how it was shut down and the owner was arrested. We're going to talk about one of the last living golden age artists retiring, just retiring now. We're going to talk about how Marvel tried to get Jim Lee to come back. We're going to talk about how DC Comics thinks that they own a Marvel superhero. All sorts of amazing news. Let's start off by just giving some shout outs to some of the folks that jumped into the chat room. Always lovely to see you folks here. Look at that. Lots of people jumping in. I'm seeing the numbers climb up, up, up for views. Hell yeah. What a great start. It's the beginning of the week. It's always a slog to get through the work week, isn't it? But hopefully, doing something fun like this, just chatting comics together, is a good start to the week, something to look forward to, something to power us through to midweek. I like that one. Thanks, Beowulf. Yeah, definitely hit the like and share button. That would be lovely. I'm going to stop now. There's a delay, but thank you all. Thank you all for jumping in. It's going to be a really fun show, in my opinion. If there's time, I may even try to end this show by attempting a online quiz I found where you're supposed to list the top 500 DC Comics characters. I'm sure I can't get all 500. I'm hoping I could at least do 350. I think that would be kind of fun. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Tell you what, why even delay? Let's just get right into the news. That's what you're here for. Look at that. Boom. Super professional thumbnail. As always, yeah, DC is saying that they own this character. Marvel's trying to get Jim Lee, who, by the way, is the publisher at DC Comics. So that's why that's a big deal. Marvel trying to get Jim Lee to come back. Crazy stuff. Let's move into just something fun. Here's something light. We're going to, I put some thought into the order of the news here. We're going to start with just something easy that we can all riff on. DC posted their heroes' New Year's resolutions. We talked about New Year's resolutions a bit last week. So, just to be clear, this was on DC's official Instagram, and these are just some of the resolutions that they had. I thought I'd share with them. Batman pledging to sleep less, help Damian, his son, to make more human friends, and to revise the contingency plan for my contingency plan. All right, somebody's got a good sense of humor. I like that one. Let's see. Wonder Woman pledges to reveal the power of truth to the world again, and to look into getting her own bat cow. Feels like they didn't put a lot of effort into that one. Maybe that's just me. Flash said that he's going to see more of the multiverse. Good. Figure out what leg day is. Pretty sure he's already figured that out. And to be more punctual without time traveling. This is where I really do need a soundboard so that I can play that rim shot or that huge crowd laughter effect. That's all stuff that will eventually come to this show, folks. Let me take a sip of coffee so that I can keep moving. Yeah, I think that's the joke. Let's see. We've got Superman pledging to make it a full year without being mind-controlled and turning evil. That would be very nice. Very nice. Get into less fights with Batman and to take Crypto for longer flights around the universe. Sounds like a Silver Age gag there to me. Aquaman, this was probably the funniest to me. Aquaman pledges to find out if there are any other tridents he should know about, and to convince Orm that ending sentences with "for the boys" is a sign of respect on the surface. Very much based on the movie, but hey, that's what they've got to promote, right? And finally, we've got Green Lantern pledging to walk more, hover over people less. That would be polite. And to experiment with other colors like off-green. Off-green. Haven't heard of that one before, but that's cool. Look at that hair. Wow, let's see how big I can make it. That's pretty big. For an old man, look at how much hair that is. Oh, yeah. We got a real Jack Lord pompadour going on here. There's a reference that shows my age. I'm referring to Jack Lord. Yeah. The star of Hawaii Five-0, a guy that was like the sidekick in the first James Bond movie from like, what, 1961? My God. All right, let's move on. This just happened now. This was the last minute news that I just added. But yeah, IDW has renewed the Ninja Turtles license. I wouldn't call that a surprise. I would say that's good news for IDW. We've got The Hollywood Reporter just broke this news, like literally about an hour ago, I think. And they announced, that IDW is retaining that license. IDW said things like they're planning to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Ninja Turtles with projects like Ninja Turtles Last Ronin 2. Wow. 40 years blows my mind, makes me feel a little old, because Ninja Turtles does not necessarily feel like an old property to me. You know, Ninja Turtles came into existence when I was alive, but 40 years sounds like a long time. That's kind of you to ask. I'm doing pretty darned good. Let's see. These weren't great. Better than Joe Coy at the Golden Globes last night. Did not watch. Sorry to hear that he didn't do well. Let's see. They'd be in big trouble if they didn't. Wait, I missed something. I'm sorry. I don't know what that's referring to. After losing Transformers, I would renew TMNT too. Yeah, well, totally different license, but obviously IDW kind of lives and breathes on their licenses. So, yeah. I just aged 1,000 years in the span of a second reading that aloud. Yes. Yes, I did. That shot from, what is it, Saving Private Ryan, where Matt Damon goes from like a young man into like a decrepit old man going like, oh yeah, World War II. I love Ninja Turtles, though, for the record. And I think IDW's run has been pretty darn good. Maybe I should make an episode about the more modern Ninja Turtle stuff at some point. That would be kind of fun in a way. I like talking Ninja Turtles. I do. Ninja Turtles is interesting in that, you know, I'm hard pressed to think of another superhero that's been rebooted in as many sort of variations in as short a time as Ninja Turtles, and people kind of like each version, you know, because there've been several cartoon versions, several live action versions, several comic book versions, and people seem to generally like it. Yeah, I know. Surprise, surprise. I like Ninja Turtles. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you. That's kind. Oh, wow. Look at that. Ooh, hello. Looks like I might be able to afford a second coffee today, folks. That's room for celebration. Powerhouse says, sorry that I've missed a few shows. You never have to apologize for that. Hope you've had a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. You know, it was pretty chill. It was relaxing. I didn't really travel or do anything big, but in a lot of ways, that was kind of nice. But I do miss my family on the East Coast. Yeah, now that I think of it, where's my sister? She used to jump in here all the time. I think we should all turn on her. All right, let me go back to the news. What else have we got? A follow-up on last week's news. Last week, if you weren't here, I'm going to try to like really condense this. The grading company for comics, CGC, acknowledged that there is a scam going on where people have been what's called reholdering the comics through them, and it isn't the same comic. Essentially, people have found a way to slightly open a case and swap out two valuable comics, but like keep the more valuable one, and then like, you know, have it like resealed and authorized by CGC. It's a big scam. Well, CGC acknowledged that, and they followed up this week with another statement. So let me talk to you about that briefly anyway. According to CGC, they believe that approximately 350 books are affected, which to me sounds honestly like a decent amount, considering this wouldn't be the easiest scam to pull off. You have to have certain valuable comics that look on the surface very, very similar. Anyway, 350 shakes your faith in the system a little, I would think. They issued a list of the potential books. If you go to CGC's site, like this is just a screen cap of the first several. And what they've done to try to make this right is they say if you're on this list, and there's a certification number to know if you are or not, you can search for it. You can, at no cost to them, have your book re-inspected and reholdered. So they'll verify whether you have the right book or not. That is the bare minimum they should do. Bare minimum. And the goal, they say, is to remove the affected certification numbers, issue a new one, and move forward as they learn about any more. Let's see. I just couldn't ever CGC any of my books. I totally understand. The scam was so unbelievably easy. My mind remains blown how there were zero safeguards here. I mean, there were sort of some safeguards, but there were definitely some weaknesses that could be exploited. That's for darn sure. I don't want to repeat everything we did last week, but I did put in chapter breaks in last week's episode. So if you haven't seen it and you're curious about just this piece, you can go to last week's show and you could skip right to the CGC piece. And we were lucky enough that one of the guys who really found out about this potential scam, the 99 Newsstand, actually happened to drop into the chat during that. So we were able to get a little bit more insight. Yes, I agree with you there, Beowulf. $40 is a pretty poor safeguard. Steve, thank you. More money for your conch to summon your troopers. All right, comic troopers, you hear that? I just got $2 more to beef up my conch shell and summon everybody. Time to get the show. What if it's not worth what you thought it was? Last week they pledged to make things right for anybody that was scammed. So I guess that they're saying they're going to pay the difference. I don't know. Do not toot it. A classic reference to a Spidey Super Stories comic where Dr. Doom seems to be yelling at someone not to blow a conch shell. That is an edited meme, though, just to be clear. I have been summoned. Nice to see you, Kevin. Let's see. Did you hear that amazing... I think you mean Amazon, right? Amazon Prime Video just gave a series order to the upcoming live-action adaptation of Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. I did not hear that. I knew that was something that was in development, but I did not hear any confirmation on that. Well, I'll have to get some more details, and we can talk about that next week, because I've talked it up before. Love Brubaker and Phillips. I think it's my favorite comic book team. They're just so ridiculously consistent. Now, admittedly, you kind of have to be into crime comics, but they're great. Yeah. Wow. Sean Phillips retweeted the news. Well, then that's as official as you can get, isn't it? That is really, really cool to hear. I did an episode once on comic tropes about Criminal. It didn't get that many views, but not everything does. But I love that series. Just love it. That's really cool news. All right. But I'm going to keep moving with this because I've got so many things to do today. I think sometimes I dawdle on the news. I'm going to try to go through the news a little faster so that we have time for some more fun stuff at the end of the night. Rob Irizarry say, news team assemble. Exactly right. I thought writer Fabian Nicieza had a really fair point about a Marvel ad this week. It's not the end of the world, but I think he's got a good point. Let's talk about it. So on the left here is a real ad that Marvel has for a new Night Thrasher series, which you can see. Night Thrasher, it's got the creative team. It's coming out in February. And the tagline is, he's leaving the 90s behind him. And at first you're like, okay, right, because Night Thrasher was a 90s character. But what does that mean? Let's go into that. So here's the ad, right? Fabian Nicieza talked about it because he wrote this character a lot in the New Warriors comic. Now, technically, he's not credited as the co-creator because Night Thrasher showed up in an issue of Thor like 1 month before New Warriors debuted. The New Warriors characters actually showed up as a guest of sorts in Thor. So like that team was credited with their creation or something like that. But Nicieza definitely was the first writer to truly develop this character. If you don't know him, he's a street level skateboarder superhero, and he is the one that organizes the original Night Thrashers team. He also supposedly died in this big explosion that incited the original Civil War storyline. So he's coming back here. This is the original guy. Yes, he definitely died. It's comics. They get better. They get better. I guess he got better. Exactly. He did. He's totally radical to the extreme. I liked, by the way, at the time anyway, I really liked New Warriors. That was a book I remember enjoying quite a bit. Mark Bagley was the original artist. And I think that was kind of his first big book. He'd done some other monthly stuff for Marvel, but I feel like that was the thing that got him in front of a lot of eyeballs. Thank you, Thomas. Your Comic Tropes video on Criminal got me into the series. That's all I can hope for. That's such good news. Thank you for the support. But let's get into like why I'm actually talking about this. This is just background. Here's what Fabian Nicieza tweeted when he saw this ad. He says, "Can I ask Marvel a question?" He tagged them. "As former advertising manager who made your house ads, what the bleep is that copy line supposed to mean? You profit every day from work done in the 90s. The character is wearing almost exactly what he wore in the original series in the 90s. Do better." It's right. Like saying he's leaving the 90s behind him sounds dismissive when that's an era that Marvel still does pretty darn well from. Like, why would you want to leave that behind exactly? Fabian had a follow-up tweet saying, "I have no clue what the content of the comic is. The whining is just about the advertising approach. It means absolutely nothing and says less about the book character. It's a bad copy line." I think that's a fair criticism. This doesn't really tell us what the new direction of the book is or anything like that. What does leaving the 90s behind truly mean? It sounds like it means something when you just hear it, but if you think about it for 2 seconds, you're like, that doesn't really mean anything. I agree with him. So yeah, Fabian was not just a writer at Marvel. He also, like he said, he was an advertising manager that was responsible for coming up with a lot of those house ads, they call them. So anyway, thought it was worth addressing is all. I think a lot of eras are overly hated or overly loved, and that if you truly have a moment to break down any era, you're going to find ridiculous stuff and you're going to find exceptional stuff. Sometimes you might just have to dig a little bit more for either. And we have to also acknowledge that we often have nostalgia blinders on. There's no question that a lot of 80s and 90s comics appeal to me in a way that they probably don't for the next generation. Not all the time, anyway. That's totally fair, but I would just say, like, it's good that you're saying in general, because there are going to be some good things. There really are. The 90s was affected by business concerns. People got into it speculating, investing, and it like grew the market really fast. And that meant that all of a sudden, even big publishers like Marvel and DC were hiring lower level tier talent to pump out a lot of books. That's a fact, I think. Yeah. Well, we'll move on. Just something worth talking about. A Berserk anime is getting developed and some art was released. I wanted to talk about this because Berserk is one of my all-time favorite comics. I mean, it's manga, but to me, manga and comics are the same. It's interchangeable. So to be clear, this is a fan-made animation, but I guess it's a big one. It's by a group called Studio Eclipse, and they're going to be adapting the Black Swordsman story arc from the Berserk manga. Why is that a big deal? Because while Berserk has been adapted before into anime, none of it has been like perfect. And that story arc was really only lightly addressed in the original 1997 anime. They didn't fully adapt that storyline. So it's never been fully committed to animation. So if you haven't read it, the Black Swordsman was the first story arc in the comics. And you'd think, like, why wouldn't that have been adapted? It is important. I mean, it establishes the character and the setting, the bad guys, the good guy, his sidekick, Puck, this tiny little elf that can help heal him, and adds a little levity to a very dark series. But as soon as that first story arc finishes, there's a huge flashback arc that's fantastic and really explains who Guts is. It gives you his life from childhood up to basically adulthood. That really sets the tone, establishes a lot of the world building, etc. But it would have been probably overwhelming if they started with all of that. Like, it would have just been an info drop, and instead it just works perfectly as the second big story arc. It's hard to describe if you haven't read it. I really recommend it. I'm excited to see that these folks are taking the time to commit to making this. So, by the way, it's traditional 2D. We're not talking like, 3D rendered stuff in computers. This is hand-drawn stuff. They are promising a trailer in early 2024, but they do already have a teaser trailer up. They've got a YouTube channel here called Studio Eclipse. It's very short, but honestly, I thought it looked really good. This is just a quick screen cap from it. So, yeah, I just really, really like Berserk. So I'm excited to check something like this out. I've never seen the Dreamcast game. That's an interesting bit of exposure that you've had, Victor. Phrasing. Well, thanks for being up so late, Darian. Appreciate you jumping in. Let's see. I feel like something sad got mentioned that I saw. What? Rick said something happened to a nightclub, but I didn't see it all. Hey, Daniel. Thanks for dropping in, especially where it's pretty darn late in Sweden as well. Nice of you to jump in. Let's move on, though. I just wanted to drop that in front of people's eyes. And, if you want to see a little bit more, they've got some animation stuff at Studio Eclipse on YouTube. As long as I was talking about anime adaptations of manga, I wanted to address this one that came out this week where an anime director was refuting claims of plagiarism. Pretty big deal. So this all started, not all started, but like started in a big way on December 29th when this Twitter account, Vishal Sid 1, I think I'm reading that right. They made a massive thread. I don't know if it's a he or her, they, I don't know. They made a massive thread showing clips, accusing the anime Jujutsu Kaisen of lifting shots from other anime and movies. It was a pretty large thread. Things that they listed included like My Hero Academia, Naruto, Bleach, Ip Man. Well, one of the animators on the show and director, Itsuki Tsuchigami, replied on Twitter saying that, look, those are references. Those are not literally copied shots. It's not like they traced over and mapped out existing things. They're referencing popular tropes and popular things. So, yeah, I've got this here. This is one of the clips. This is the Raid 2, and down here is Jujutsu Kaisen. This is them saying that it's plagiarized. But while I think it's like, I'll play it again just in case, but like, I don't know that that's really, I'm going to turn off the sound this time. I don't know that that's necessarily plagiarism. I don't know. Let's see. And you can also see that I think that they've edited the Jujutsu Kaisen a little bit to match it a little more closely. I don't know. That's just one example, though. Like I say, you could check out this Twitter user. It's a big thread. You know, they've got a bunch of different anime and movies, and I think that there's a possibility that I think some of them, first of all, are not even references. I think that they're similar because sometimes there's only a certain way to do things, like, you know, a hand touching the ground and causing like energy or something like that. That's really basic, you know. If somebody's like blocking a martial art fight with just one hand, there's kind of only one way to ultimately stage that, you know. So it's possible. There's a lot of fans that do think that Jujutsu Kaisen's anime has plagiarized things. I'll be honest, I'm on the side this time of the anime. I think that they possibly were influenced by some things, but I don't think that they're flat out copying it. That's just my take on it. I don't want to overly influence your take. I mean, you guys can go read the thread. It is interesting to see this stuff, like, you know, as a comparison. Every post has, like, you know, the original thing that they're saying and then the thing down below. Especially if you're already familiar with things like, say, Bleach or Naruto, you might be able to pick up on it more. I sort of lean towards this too, Jamil. Like, wouldn't that be called inspiration or homage? I think so, because there was once a Batman animated like movie, one of those direct to video things that DC does, where they had clearly mapped out the fight based on sort of like a low budget martial arts movie. And it was like very clear that it was pasted and framed the exact same. This is just similar, I think. But that's just me. That's just me. I don't know if it was Gotham Knights. It's really hard to remember now. I'm trying to remember where I even saw it. It may have been in an old Corridor Crew video, but I'm just guessing there. It's hard to remember. Yeah, like rotoscope. If any of this was rotoscoped, I'd go, yeah, that's potential plagiarism, but I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that. Anyway, just worth mentioning, but let's move on. This is, I think, a pretty big piece of news. A South Korean, you know, comic site where they're just, you know, stealing the webtoons and showing them there. They got shut down and arrested. These are actual crime scene photos of authorities noting stuff from the owner of this. That's definitely, yeah, Akira Bike homage scenes are not plagiarism. They're clearly intended as an homage, and they're not trying to hide the fact. They're trying to show respect to something that's really well known. So the website is best known as Shelter, and it was raided back on December 19th in a cooperative operation involving, this is interesting, South Korea's Ministry of Culture's Crime and Scientific Investigation Unit, that's a mouthful, the United States Homeland Security Investigations, and the Korea Protection Agency. So they've all been working together. What does this site get? It shows that it had over 21 million visits in 2023, and they're believed to have generated about $35 million in advertising revenue by getting people to come there by unlawfully sharing close to 27,000 titles. That is far from the largest, you know, pirating site out there, but it is big. It is sizable. And it just shows that authorities are going to crack down on this stuff when they can. This one, the news article said that the agencies worked together for 5 years to truly build a case and make sure that they had everything locked up before they went ahead and raided it. And the owner of the site is now facing prison time. So pretty serious. Not manga of every kind. With 27,000 titles, I think it was primarily webtoons, which are incredibly popular in Asia now, but exceptionally popular in South Korea. Yeah. So let's see. If I had to describe what I imagine when I think of SK Pirate Comics HQ, this is exactly what I would picture. It doesn't exactly look like a huge business or anything like that, but yeah. Who will get custody of his anime figures while he's in jail? Well, we don't know that it's a he. There's no name. They just said that the owner. So technically that could be somebody other than a guy, but we don't know. All I want to say is that, risky business to be in. Probably better to be on the up and up. There's obviously a lot of money to be made. In comics, especially online these days. I always like mentioning positive stories like this. This just made me happy to see that this existed. There's a UK literary grant for comics creators. So for the second year in a row, writer Tony Lee has launched what he's calling the Caliburn Prize. And I believe that's a reference to Arthurian legends. I'm not an expert on King Arthur and his knights, but I'm pretty sure Caliburn was something in there. Anyway, it's a UK-based grant for, as they call it, fresh and upcoming comics creators. Nice. I like hearing that. Last year, a creator by the name of Michael Lomone, and I'm just guessing at the name, sorry if I butchered it, was selected as the winner in 2023. He got to help fund this book, The Palace of Tears, which I thought really pretty cover, to be honest. Really nice. The winner gets a £2,500 grant and a hotel and table at the London Film and Comic-Con. So they've just announced, like, that was the winner of the first one, and now they've launched it again for the second year in a row. It's specifically for people in the UK, just to be clear. And what entrants need to do, I'll put this out there because now it's open again. They just opened this. Entrants need to submit a project containing 8 pages of a finished comic, a finished cover with a logo, a 1-page synopsis of the story, and a 1-page biography list of all creators involved. And the winner will be announced at that same convention on July 8th. So if you want more information on that, just look up the Caliburn Prize. That grant, if you're in the UK, maybe it's something that you would be eligible for. So I'd love to spread the word on something like that. There have been some nice things like this over the years. The Xeric grant was one that was established by Kevin Eastman, I believe, of Ninja Turtles. There have been others. I've sincerely looked into it a couple times myself. I just don't really have anything in terms of savings that I could put towards this, but I would love to do something like this someday, to create a grant. It's definitely a goal of mine if I could ever build the channel to the level that I want it at, and maybe have something like a $5,000 yearly grant awarded to people. So yeah. And there's a whole panel, basically, like you send this in, it gets narrowed down to a list of finalists, and there's a panel of professionals. I think Gail Simone is on this year's, Bleeding Cool's Rich Johnston, a bunch of other people that you would recognize, and they all will vote and choose a winner. Yeah, exactly right. This sort of prize helps inspire new creators to enter the industry. I love that stuff. It's scary to think of all the American comics we wouldn't have if it weren't for the UK talent. Well, that is true. Europe definitely respects comics in a big way, and I love them for it. We are very lucky to have all sorts of European creators that also work over here or get their work imported. Beautiful stuff. I don't believe the Xeric grant is around anymore. No, it did shutter at a certain point. I don't remember. Oh, it was Laird, not Eastman. Well, thank you for the correction. Obviously, that's huge. I did not know that, so I feel terrible about that. Whoops. Anyway, just thought I'd mention it. You can obviously look up more. By the way, this stuff of like what entrants would need to submit to win this grant, I would strongly recommend that you create this exact same stuff if you are ever thinking of pitching to a publisher. This is exactly what you need. Maybe only 5 pages instead of 8, but everything else here. Like, yeah, like this is what you would need if you want to have a professional, complete pitch, just so you know. All right, moving on. Look at that. TMNT performs for Trump? Kinda, yeah. This is just a weird story. So this is Vanilla Ice here on the right. We all remember Ice Ice Baby, right? If not Ninja Rap. Well, he performed at former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago for New Year's Eve for their party. And the whole time he did it, he had this dancing Michelangelo with him. If you watch the videos, they're pretty hilarious because Trump is just sitting, or not even, he's standing way in the back. He's nowhere near the dance floor with where all these people are having fun. He's just sort of scowling in the back. Like he does not seem to be too into it. I don't know why they would get Vanilla Ice if he doesn't seem too into it, but that's what they did. And if you don't know, Vanilla Ice is very completely like apolitical. He just, which, you know, I mean, he is performing for, you know, Trump, but he never speaks about issues or takes a side on anything, for good or for ill. That's just Vanilla Ice. And I just wanted to point this out. It seems to me tremendously unlikely that they had permission from Nickelodeon, who owns Ninja Turtles, to have Michelangelo there. But if you want to see a funny video, in my opinion, there are many, obviously you can see all these people are like recording it. It's just funny to see Michelangelo dancing to Vanilla Ice. He did not look like he was having fun at all. He didn't look like he was having fun. And it's like, it's your club. Oh man, thank you, Gantris. Thank you for the support. Tonight I'm doing well. Tonight I'm doing well. Says more about his audience. I don't know. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I bought Vanilla Ice's first album when I was a kid, and I remember seeing him in Ninja Turtles 2. Let's see. He performed for a very uninterested crowd at a con I went to last year. Oh, poor guy. Oh, he's a local. That's why he was there, probably. I wonder why they chose Michelangelo because they didn't have all 4 turtles. They had 1 turtle. I wonder how they went about choosing Michelangelo to be the one. Barely comics related, I know. Barely a news story. I just thought it was a little funny. The video's the funny part. I should have included it. Oh, this is good. Yeah, I talked earlier about how well I did at like organizing things. So I go from a funny story to a sad one. That's good thinking, Chris. All right, let's talk about this. Unfortunately, we're back to seeing comic books getting stolen. This takes place in Omaha, which is a city in Nebraska. I thought I'd teach you guys that. So yeah, an Omaha man went to Public Storage, that's the name of the company, to check on his locker. He found out that the lock had been replaced. Sus. So when he ultimately got the company to open his storage, he found that between 60,000 to 100,000 comics had been stolen. He estimates that to be worth between, like, right around $75,000. That was his guess, which is probably a very realistic guess. If it's between this many comics, he's not like overly valuing them. What a bummer. What a bummer. The storage company only had 1 security camera. So the news articles that I read, the police didn't seem especially confident that they're going to catch a lead. They asked you to submit any leads that you hear about. So I figured I'd put this in the news. Maybe if you're in the area, all of a sudden you start seeing a massive collection trying to be sold for cheap at like a comic shop or a thrift shop or a pawn shop. I don't know. You're from Omaha? I knew somebody would be one day. The owner, by the way, he said he had his insurance, and that's good. That's nice. But he said he would prefer to get his collection back, as he's been reading for 25 years. You can see in the news article, like his quote was, "It's personal to me." So, my storage facility has a gate, passcodes, and outside cameras. I guess, yeah. If you're going to put something in a storage locker, you want to do some research and see what kind of security measures they truly have. I guess that's a good point. But anyway, too bad for this guy. Hopefully, somebody does find his comics and he maybe gets them back. That would really be nice. That would be nice. Someone I know stole a bunch of my books while I was in the hospital last year. Oh, Brendan, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. That's really unfortunate. I don't know if it's a budget operation, if it's just really small, or if some are broken, or they mean just one at that angle. I really don't know. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Let's see. Is that the one where they caught on camera with their child as they hauled away boxes? No, nothing like that was mentioned in any of the news articles I saw. I have not been to Nebraska. I've been to a lot of states. I can't say that I've been to Nebraska. Boy, I mean, I'd love to hit every state someday just to say that I have. And I don't count it when I just travel through it. Like if I drive without really stopping, if I just fly into the airport as a hub and fly out, I've never counted that as visiting a state. I count visiting a state as actually doing something in it. And I've probably been to, I don't know, at least 30, probably more than 30, but there's a bunch of the Midwest and of course the upper North that I haven't hit yet. We'll see. I haven't been to Detroit. No, I would be curious to go to like Michigan. Nope. Iowa is also one of the ones I haven't really been to. Yeah. I'm trying to, if I'm just going to list the places that I haven't been, we'd be like Montana, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, Wisconsin, actually, even though I've got a bunch of friends there. So I've got an excuse to go there. Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma. I don't think I've been to New Mexico. So those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. The news. Right. Okay. Let's stay on the same topic. This one's much more local to me. A comic shop in Seattle was robbed for the third time. That's a bummer. So, in West Seattle, which isn't a perfect area to be fair. Anyway, this store is Tales to Astonish. It's been broken into for the third time within 6 months. Yikes. This one occurred around 6:45 in the morning back on January 1st. So they probably assumed a lot of people were recovering from the festivities when they decided to do this. This one, though, does have some pretty clear footage of 2 burglars stealing comics and the cash register. So they might have some more leads on this one. I thought that the camera footage was pretty darn clear. We'll see what happens. Oh, I guess that's all I have for the news piece. But I will say, it's hard. But honestly, if you're going to stay in business like this, I think at this point you really, unfortunately, need to look into investing in something like unbreakable, like shatterproof glass or bars. And that's not fun, but clearly this area is such that it's hard. It seems obvious to say that you need to do those sort of security measures. But on the other hand, we know that there are small margins in selling comics. So, but is it worth having a business if you can't protect it properly? I don't know. You're right. Insurance may require it at a certain point because your premiums are going to keep going up. There's no way that the insurance stays the same after 3 break-ins. Good luck to Tales to Astonish. I'm really sorry that you're dealing with this. This one was a little bit of a surprise because we've been hearing for quite a while, Marvel was really proud to have signed Steven Yeun to be in the Thunderbolts movie, but he's left it. That happened this week. So, the reason he dropped out is he at least according to his claims is because the film got pushed back. We had the writers' strike. It was originally, supposed to basically be coming out this year. It's not even getting filmed until next year. So that's totally believable that it could truly be scheduling issues. The movie got pushed back a lot. He said to Variety this week that he left by email. That part surprised me. He literally gave Variety this quote: "It took me a lot of drafts on email to make sure that I conveyed the sincerity of how sorry I was to have backed out." Presumably his agent also called the producers, but yeah, I imagine just an email. "Yeah, I'm not going to be in the movie anymore." So it was never officially confirmed by Marvel, but it certainly seemed that he was going to be playing the Sentry because, first of all, people just suspected it. Like, the Sentry is supposed to be one of the dangers in the movie. And wasn't that long ago that Robert Kirkman said he was talking to Steven Yeun and that Yeun realized that he was playing a second superhero in blue and yellow, like Invincible. He voices Invincible. That seems to confirm it. So I think that I think Kirkman kind of spoiled that one. Maybe that's why he's leaving, but because it's not a surprise anymore. I don't know. I see what you did there. Could you say that he's left a void in the Thunderbolts movie? The Void is the evil version of Sentry, or really, he is Sentry. Sentry can become evil. It's hard. You and Demisses have free accommodations if you ever visit the province of Newfoundland. Thank you. I would love to go to Newfoundland someday. I'm pretty sure that that's where some of my ancestors came from. I'm pretty sure that my great-grandfather and the generation before lived in Newfoundland before traveling down to Massachusetts. No, Sentry is not really like Shazam, to be clear. He is not like a guy that transforms into a superpowered being, per se. Sentry isn't quite as clean as that, to be honest. Captain Marvel's Shazam is a lot cleaner in terms of how his powers work and everything. The Sentry's science-based. He's ridiculously powerful. Like, Superman times 2. It's hard to describe, though. He's got the power, right? Yeah, he's got the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, is how they describe it. Someday I'll talk about how Marvel introduced Sentry, because they pretended like it was a forgotten Golden Age character that they had, but that was all just like marketing, just to make it sound interesting, like it was a forgotten character. The suspect part was that Marvel roped in Wizard, the Guide to Comics, to write an article as though it was a fake character from the Golden Age. And that was never true. So, Wizard is ostensibly journalism, but they faked a report to help Marvel. As long as I'm talking about movie stuff, there's a rumor out this week that Spider-Man 4 would have some superhero co-stars in it. It was fun enough that I thought I'd mention it. Hollywood insider Daniel Rickman, he claims that Matt Murdock Daredevil has a sizable role in the current draft of Spider-Man 4. Sounds somewhat plausible. I don't know if it's true. I'd like it to be true. I don't know. The report also says that Ant-Man is in the movie currently, sort of working a bit as a mentor, just like, the first 3 Spider-Man movies had either Iron Man, Nick Fury, or Doctor Strange as a bit of a mentor figure. So we'll see. Oh, I guess that's all I had. So just a fun little bit of news. I'm sure that Spider-Man 4 will get made. Will we see like a whole nother trilogy with Tom Holland? I find that a little harder to believe, but I think that that we'll see another Spider-Man 4. If they could put Daredevil in it, I'd love that. I think Daredevil's great. He did have a cameo in the 3rd one, so in a way it wouldn't be that hard to believe that he could have a bigger role in the next one. I always liked the relationship that Spider-Man had with Daredevil and with Human Torch. Those guys are both basically his friends, his superhero friends. You know, Peter Parker has his real life friends, but I always liked that Spider-Man separately had superhero friends. That always kind of amused me. It's a decent idea. We'll see. So apparently there's going to be a new Ghost Rider who's actually a villain. All right, that's a little different. Let's see what goes on here. So writer Benjamin Percy, he recently closed his current Ghost Rider run by having the Spirit of Vengeance separated from its host, Johnny Blaze. Johnny Blaze is going to try to get it back. It's his responsibility at this point. But the spirit, like Zarathos, is just out there. Well, this book, Ghost Rider: Final Vengeance, is going to reveal that the spirit has bonded with an existing supervillain. That's different enough that I'm a little curious about it, to be honest. And I've heard a lot of people say that they like Ben Percy's current Ghost Rider stuff. I have not read it, but I've honestly heard a lot of good things. So yeah, this book will be written by Percy. It's going to be drawn by Danny Kim, and it's going to have Benjamin Sue doing a special foil cover. If there's any characters out there that work well with gimmick covers, I have to admit, yeah, Ghost Rider. That glow-in-the-dark cover from the 90s, that's a pretty fantastic gimmick. Pretty fantastic. No, Spiderfell. Haven't talked about Jim Lee yet. I don't know what villain it would be. Plot twist, it's the Red Skull. That would look cool. Ghost Paste, the Paste Pot Pete version of Ghost Rider. I also have heard good things about writer Jed MacKay's Moon Knight, and that he created a whole sort of team that Moon Knight was leading called the Midnight Mission with like a vampire named Reese. They reformed the former supervillain 8-Ball. There was another Fist of Khonshu out there. There's a mercenary in there. Like, I don't know. It sounded like a really interesting team. I think I might have to find some trade paperbacks of the Moon Knight run and possibly this Ghost Rider run, because I've been hearing good things. I don't know. I also grew up with Danny Ketch a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of good Ghost Riders, to be honest. There's a lot of good Ghost Riders. Is it good? Yeah, I've heard really good things. Spirit of Vengeance, D-Man. D-Man isn't a villain, though. He's just a homeless, strong superhero. The Night villains are very common. Blade, Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight. It's a common theme. 8-Ball. Imagine if he's the new host. Yeah, that just popped into my head. That's what made me think of Ghost Rider. I was trying to think of a goofy villain. I thought of 8-Ball, but I guess Jed MacKay did some really good things with them. It's a good idea to take sort of like a C-list supervillain and make him part of a team on like sort of a redemption arc. That's an interesting story for a character like that. Make it Ghost Paste, Post Haste. Guessing Sin Eater. Maybe if people that have read this Ghost Rider run by Ben Percy are here, they could tell us like if there's any supervillains that have been an ongoing plot point in the book. I don't know. We'll see. Oh yeah, they're gonna reveal the identity when the issue lands. That's March 13th, so that's not too far away. I love Ramona Fradon. She is a delight. Love her artwork. Very, very clean, very wholesome, has remained insanely consistent from the beginning to her retirement. But she is retiring. And she might be the last active Golden Age person to have been working. I mean, there's a couple other Golden Age people that are alive. I don't know if any of them are working. I'm hard pressed to think of any of them that are working. You know, I know Larry Lieber is still alive. Oh, I'm stumped right now. But anyway, let's talk about it. So, Catskill Comics here, they've managed Ramona Fradon's commission list and selling her original art. And they announced this past week that she is now going to retire. She's going to retire. She began working in 1950. Keep in mind that was still the golden age. The golden age went up until like the early 60s when things like Showcase with the new version of The Flash came out, when Marvel launched Fantastic Four, things like that. And she did several covers for DC as recently as last year. She did like a Wonder Woman cover, she did a Superman cover. So quite a career. And she had her commission list going up until they just announced this. I was on the wait list on her commission list. That means I'm not going to be able to get a commission by Ramona Fradon. I was waiting for quite a while. She had a long commission list. And so I'm a little bummed. You know, I always wanted to get a Metamorpho by her because that's a character she co-created. If you're not familiar, she's well known for drawing Aquaman for a long time. Super Friends, when that cartoon was out, there was a comic book to go with it. It was very popular. She did that. And she co-created Metamorpho, who I think is a pretty cool character to have worked on. Yeah, massive list. It would be fascinating to see how her style has evolved over the years. It didn't evolve a lot, to be honest. She started out really solid and kind of just remained consistent. Yeah, thank you for that. Golden Age. And some people will argue like the exact year a little bit for that, but yeah, so she definitely started when it was still considered the Golden Age. Oh, how old is she? I believe it says up here. Yeah, 97. 97. Think about that. She's still, and her art, like just up until last year, is still like really good looking. So imagine being 97 and being healthy enough both physically and mentally that you could still draw at a professional level. I think that that is an accomplishment in and of itself, regardless of how it's even received. Like I would love to be in that kind of a condition at the age of 97. So love her work. Love that she's had such a long and healthy career. And yeah, she's a really, really awesome person. But certainly if she's ready to retire and stop the commissions and the occasional covers and stuff, she's more than earned it. I think all of us can agree that, like, yeah, at 97, if you don't feel like working anymore, that's pretty reasonable. That's pretty reasonable. What, 1950 to 2023, so 73 years. There ain't too many people out there that have made comics that long. Not many. Definitely wanted to highlight that. That one I was excited to talk about. That one I was really excited to talk about. Yo, a ton of names came out as being used to train Mid-Journey. Oh my God, it's crazy, folks. So, hold on. I just want to say thank you, Mike. I really appreciate the super sticker. That's really, really nice. That's really, really kind. So, AI imagery. Oh, what an issue. I believe that there is room for AI imagery to be helpful and moral, but not this particular tool because it is specifically trained on unconsenting artists. So that I'm very much against. I hope that that makes sense. You know, if there was something that was just trained on like people that opted in and, you know, Creative Commons type licensed photos and things like that, and you wanted to like just get some ideas for a layout or a composition or something like that, that's not a bad use of AI in my opinion. But so this started with a class action copyright lawsuit that was filed almost a year ago now in the Northern District of California. Some people thought that that's like over or dismissed or something. No, this lawsuit is absolutely still going. It's targeted at, among other things, Stability AI, Mid-Journey, a lot of people know that, and DeviantArt for their use of AI generative imagery. Now, this week, a list of 16,000 artists that never opted in have been included as part of an amendment. Ooh. Bleeding Cool summarized some of the big names, because you can like go online and read, like, this is, in the public record now. You could scan through 16,000 names, see if an artist that you like or respect is in there, and there's going to be a bunch of like, art from things other than comics. But listen to this. Oh, it absolutely is going to be illegal. Absolutely. Just look at some of this though. What are some names we'll definitely recognize? Brian Bolland, Bill Sienkiewicz. Who else are like really big names? Alex Toth, Scott McCloud, Frank Miller, Frank Frazetta, Neil Gaiman. What? Probably like his book covers or something like that. Mike Mignola, James O'Barr, The Crow, John Byrne, Dave Sim, Wally Wood. Wally Wood's great. Walt Kelly, Pogo, Jack Kirby, folks. Steve Ditko, Steve Dillon, rest in peace. Katsuhiro Otomo, Milton Caniff. Tons of names that you'd recognize, right? Jeff Smith, Bone, Simon Beasley. These are just some of the highlights out of 16,000. On top of that, I saw on Twitter, some people were able to get into like a group chat of some of the developers of Midjourney, and they were talking about how can they sort of scrub the names. And like, there was somebody in there warning them that what they were doing was not ethical, and they're going like, it'll be okay, we'll find a way to sort of like scrub the data and like make it appear that like we didn't train it on these people. So like I think that that's probably going to get entered into court evidence too. Again, it's not about being against the tool, but it is about like, stealing from artists that did not consent to this and are at risk of having their jobs and their livelihood taken away from them. Here's something somewhat similar. I use the app Duolingo every single day to try to learn Japanese, among other things. But this week, they announced that they're laying off thousands. Their goal is to use AI translators and just keep enough people on staff to fact check it to see if it's still like correct. That's what I'm scared about happening, is that like they think that like they can get rid of artists and people like that. It's just crazy. Yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody's not like against this. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, they got caught red-handed, just openly talking about how they knew what they were doing was both ethically and legally bad, and how they just didn't care. Exactly. Like I should have included that. Sorry, I don't have access to that set of conversations right now, but I'm sure if you went to your social platform of choice, Reddit or Twitter or something like that, you can find it. Definitely a big concern. Definitely a big concern. We'll see what happens. This one was fun. DC Comics that didn't get approved. This is some like things that were pitched but just didn't happen for one reason or the other. But to be clear, this thing on the left did get pitched and approved. Look at that. The sax player vampire from the Lost Boys. Yes, Tim Seeley did make a Lost Boys sequel. This all started when Gail Simone tweeted a cool story about how she once met with Dan DiDio, and he showed her all these Warner Brothers properties that Warner Brothers owns, and said like, do you want to make a comic based on these? It's not a guarantee that we can easily get the rights, but we're more likely to be able to get the rights because, it's under the corporate umbrella. There's probably a lot of red tape we can cut out. What would you want to do? And she said, the one I want to do is I want to develop Mortal Kombat, and actually put those characters into the DC universe. She's got a great story there you can read, where she's saying like, the sort of martial arts side of DC, there are a few, but not as many as like maybe Marvel has or something, and thought like having some of those characters in the DC universe could be interesting. Have somebody like Raiden that could go up against Superman, have, guys like Liu Kang and stuff that could go up against, Batman villains or something. It was an interesting idea. like literally like integrating them and sort of starting their mythology from scratch so that like it was easy to comprehend. It didn't happen, obviously. We'd all know if it happened, but it did prompt some creators to talk about some of their pitches because they also had the same experience where they met, they saw this list of properties. There was almost, for instance, or there was pitched a Dirty Harry comic book written by Jimmy Palmiotti with Tradd Moore on art. That sounds wild. But apparently that was something that, like, Clint Eastwood was just like, no, I don't want a comic book based on my character. So they were just like, fine, better not to get him angry. The Goonies, Brett Parsons pitched that one. Apparently Shaft was also looked at for a comic book, but that got a little complex because Dynamite does have the rights to adapt the original novels. So while Warner Brothers has the rights, to the movies, if Dynamite is already doing it based on the original material, that just got too messy. But I definitely think Gail's idea was pretty strong, not just doing Mortal Kombat comics, but actually integrating them into the DC universe. That sounds cool. Yeah, Tradd Moore on Dirty Harry is not the first person I'd have thought of, but boy, that sounds so different that I'd be totally into something like that. Oh, there is a Shift comic. It's from Image Comics by the guys that make Radiant Black. Because there is, but you meant Shaft. I know. Dirty Harry versus Lady Cop. Hey, Lady Cop, I'm putting my money on her on that one. Oh, that's cool. Jimmy Palmiotti you're talking about slipped onto the Shaft 2000 set? That's funny. All right. Golden Nacht. I probably didn't pronounce that correctly. Just an interesting story. A really cool thread. Let's talk about one of the things I've got in the thumbnail. I got to keep moving. DC apparently is claiming that they own Marvel's superhero Machine Man. I'll be honest. There's like about a 1% chance that they're going to win that one. But yeah. So this comes from Bleeding Cool. That's who's reporting on this. And they said that they heard DC has contacted Marvel claiming that they own Machine Man, also known as X-51, also known as Aaron Stack, depending on what you know about him. The claim is based on the fact that Jack Kirby created the character in his comic 2001. At the time, that was published by Marvel. 2001, yeah. The movie is owned by Warner Brothers. But of course, yeah, like 2001 itself is owned by, I believe, Kubrick's estate and the writer, Arthur C. Clarke. So that makes it messy. If you aren't aware, Jack Kirby had done the New Gods at DC. He wasn't super happy with how he was being treated at DC. He decided he was interested in coming back to Marvel in the 70s. And part of that interest was he wanted to adapt 2001. I say 70s. I think it was late 60s, right? It's hard to remember off the top of my head. So he did. He did a treasury-sized adaptation of 2001, and then he continued 2001 with original stories using some of those concepts. It's a wild comic. It's really cool. Thank you so much, Joe Dent. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you for the kind bit of support. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I like this series, actually. It's kind of funny. Like, once it becomes a series, it starts out for like the first 3 or 4 issues, characters in like the past, and it's like it'll have like cavemen with dinosaurs, stuff that's not scientific. 2001 was very hard sci-fi. This was way more Jack Kirby-ish, and they'll touch, a monolith, and they'll get like sort of evolved, and then it'll jump into the far, far future where like there's space adventures and stuff. In issue 8, this sort of robot man, X-51, touched a monolith and he became sentient. That was the origin of of the character. But I really feel like it's similar to sort of how, there were books like Rom Space Knight at Marvel, and Marvel doesn't own Rom, but they do own the villains they created for that, the Dire Wraiths. Uh, so, I feel like, sure, Marvel can't refer directly to any of the stuff that's in 2001, but I see no reason why DC would have ownership of Machine Man. It's a very strange claim. It's a very strange character to even decide to like fight over. I mean, Machine Man's cool, but he's also not Captain America or anything. Hey, it's Jim. The 2001 comic is some of my favorite Kirby stuff. I love it too. It's batshit crazy in all the right ways and has some incredible covers throughout the series. I'm very happy. Like, by the way, not the most expensive thing out there if you want to collect some Jack Kirby original comics that are older. I've got a bunch of them. I love them. I absolutely love them. Oh, cool. I got into collecting Machine Man comics because of Jack Kirby's 2001 series. Yeah, I've got the Treasury edition just upstairs where I like record. I love that thing. I don't know. I think that they might think that somebody thinks that they've got a slam dunk case, and they're gonna probably be disabused of that. I would imagine. Look, as much trouble as Warren Ellis got in, Warren Ellis is a great writer, and his work on Next Wave Agents of Hate that includes Machine Man is hilarious. And I'll probably make an episode about it someday because I love that book, Next Wave Agents of Hate. That book made me fall in love with artist Stuart Immonen. I don't know why I took that book, but that was the one that did it for me. Anyway, yeah, DC needs a Machine Man to fight Cyborg. Except that they'd both be good guys. Anyway, I would be willing to bet money that, Marvel retains Machine Man. Very strange story. Strange enough that I wanted to talk about it, but I also don't feel like there's enough of an argument on DC's side to talk about it for long. There's nothing more I can say. I just don't think that DC has a case there. Who knows? Let's talk about the other big thing that I had in the thumbnail. That Marvel tried to get Jim Lee to take over X-Men, like right now? Really? Well, maybe. So this comes from Rob Liefeld, okay? So it depends on how much you trust Rob Liefeld as a source, I suppose. But on his Robservations podcast, specifically season 6, episode 2, Liefeld claimed that Jim Lee came close to returning to X-Men comics last year, but ultimately did decide to remain as the publisher and chief creative officer over at DC. He said that Marvel approached Jim Lee in the spring of 2023 to return to draw X-Men, and then as soon as they wrapped up their Krakoa era, which they're doing right now, that they'd want Lee to sort of oversee all of the X titles moving forward. Okay. Liefeld also said that helped Lee instead renegotiate his contract with DC. And if this happened, I totally believe that. Finally, he sort of closed out by saying that Lee didn't want to commit to the art deadlines. That was really what, prevented this from moving forward. It makes sense. I don't think Jim Lee's drawn a monthly comic since, was it 2016 that was the New 52 with Justice League of America? Pretty sure that was the last time he did a monthly comic. He doesn't want to do a monthly book anymore. But Liefeld did say that he believes Lee will return to X-Men someday. I could definitely see that. Someday he'll probably retire from DC, and Marvel would probably pay him a fortune to do even a single issue of X-Men. So yeah, we shall see. Yes, that's true. They did get Liefeld and Lee once before Heroes Reborn. I believe this story because if I was Marvel back then, I absolutely would have tried this. Back then being all the way last year. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to make of this story, to be honest. No offense to Jim, but I don't get the sense that he's really taken his role at DC seriously. I don't know about that. I don't know. That's all stuff that happens behind closed doors. So there's a lot of speculation. I have no reason to believe that Jim Lee isn't doing everything. Look, I'll say this for mainstream comics, like I think that DC has some of the best talent between Marvel and DC right now. Marvel has some really good writers right now, but DC I think has some of the best artists. Yeah, Jorge Jimenez, Dan Mora, bunch of amazing talent right now. Bunch of amazing talent. So, nothing seems to be happening or anything, but yeah, according to Liefeld, Marvel made a serious play to get Jim Lee to come back. Isn't it interesting that there are certain creators who will kind of always sell a comic no matter what? And I mean, you put Liefeld or Lee on a book, it's going to generate interest at the beginning no matter what they do. It just is. So Deadpool was a mid-journey of Deathstroke. That's a good one. That's a good one. The Dawn of DC is a pretty easy jumping on point if you've cared about these characters but haven't read them in a while or something. It's pretty easy jumping on point. I agree that Batman is overexposed. That does not mean that they don't have some really good books. Who else? Daniel Sampier on Wonder Woman. Really beautiful. Really beautiful. Got a few more pieces of news. Graphic novel sales are in decline. Then again, as I say that, and I hadn't thought of this until just now, it was almost inevitable that they'd have to be because they really spiked during the pandemic. I mean, during the pandemic, people were at home. One of the things they did a lot more of was read. Comic and book sales did spike up tremendously during the initial couple years of the pandemic. And now we're coming out of it. So yeah, things are easing off. So this comes from Publishers Weekly, certainly a great reputable source. They reported on bookstore sales for 2023, and they noted, first of all, that overall sales, and I'm talking all books, not just comics here, were very slightly down. There were 788 million units sold in 22 and 767 million units in 23. A little bit of a decline. Graphic novel sales, out of all the different segments that you could silo, graphic novel sales for adults was the one that had the biggest decline, down 22.4%. Still the third largest subcategory within adult fiction, so it's not nothing, but it did go down. It did go down in terms of overall sales. Just want to note, only talking about bookstore sales, not comic book stores. That doesn't get factored into these numbers. There's no numbers for things like young adult novels, I should say young adult comics. Your Dogmans and your Raina Telgemeier stuff. It didn't talk about that at all in these numbers. So down a bit, not down massively, but down. Yeah, thought it was worth mentioning. Image teased some details on Rick Remender's upcoming superhero book. Now Rick was kind enough to drop in recently and talked a little bit about this. We didn't really go into any detail though. So Image officially announced, description, like the cover, a bunch of variant covers for the Rick Remender and Bengal comic book Napalm Lullaby. Let me give you it's a big premise. I'm trying to boil some of it down. Napalm Lullaby takes place 50 years after a religious cult has successfully taken over the world. They're the leading power, okay? A cult. And then two of the Messiah's bastard children each have superpowers that are strange and difficult. They set out to escape the slums of their birth and, topple the corrupt government. Bengal, the artist, said that it's been hard keeping this a secret, that they've been working on this for a couple years. And that they described the book as part Superman, part Road Warrior. So it is sort of a post-apocalyptic type tale, but with superheroes. So a little sci-fi and a little superhero stuff. Could be cool. Yeah, I think that has been like picked up as a potential adaptation, but I don't think that I haven't heard any real updates in a while. Napalm Lullaby, that's a mouthful. Well, I don't get tripped up saying it, but yeah, shut up and take my money. Um, yeah, I've liked Rick's books. I always like Rick's books on some level. Sacrificers is the one I'm really enjoying right now out of his stuff. But yeah, he's got good books. I'm not interested in Batman because I feel like after after Morrison's run ended and stopped reading during New 52 and DCEU movies being so terrible, killed my interest in the death of Kevin Conroy. Fair. There's a lot of Batman stuff out there, though. So even if you don't want to read the monthly books, there are some really cool miniseries that aren't really in continuity that I do think are good right now. Raphael Grandpa is doing Gargoyle of Gotham. Christian Ward is doing Batman City of Madness. So there is good stuff, but it is a lot of Batman. Let me do one last news story. This looked fun. Wait, yeah, this is my last news story. I ordered this. I ordered it, and I thought I'd pass it on. I bet a bunch of you know who Jim Rugg is. Yes, he's a comic book artist and writer and stuff. A lot of you probably know him as half of the hosts of the Cartoonist Kayfabe YouTube channel. I like Jim. I think he's a very talented guy that really tries to experiment. Well, he did a wrestling comic, an official tie-in comic for a movie that's out right now. He illustrated a comic for A24's film The Iron Claw, and that's based on the Von Erich family of pro wrestlers, if you hadn't heard about it. A24, the movie studio, also publishes an official zine. Okay, they've got a magazine based on like their movies and stuff, and the current issue is edited by the director of the movie. It has all sorts of stuff about the Von Erich family, photos, some articles, and a comic book that Jim Rugg did. And it is a true story. He covers the famous Christmas cage match from 1982 that took place between Kerry Von Erich and Ric Flair. Do I think I'll be a guest on Cartoonist Kayfabe? If they invited me, that's on them. World's Finest. You're right. Like we were talking about good Batman things. World's Finest is really good right now. Oh, absolutely. Sorry, I saw this. Yes, Mike Allred and who's the writer? It's not coming to me right now because I'm bad at names. But The Dark Age, same team that did Superman: The Space Age, which was quite good. But yeah, the new Mike Allred Batman book should be good. Should definitely be good. Love Jimmy Rugg. Love me some A24. Yeah, so if you go to A24's site, you can order a zine. This is like $6, and I think it was like $5 for shipping too. Mark Russell. Thanks, everybody. Yep, Mark Russell is who I was trying to think of. Yep. So anyway, I ordered it really just so that I could get Jim Rugg's small comic. I like wrestling. I really like comics. It's a good matchup. Yeah. I haven't seen that movie yet, by the way. I love movies, but I haven't been able to see that one yet. So I'd love to, but haven't seen it yet. All right. So I've got a couple comics that I can talk a little bit about. It was honestly for me a somewhat light week. I'd also love to draw, and I think we've got enough time, but I think I want to do one weird thing. Okay. I want to see how well I can do at this quiz. Have you guys ever seen this website, Jetpunk, before? Jetpunk is just nothing but user-submitted quizzes, and then people can vote on how good they are. So, like, the cream of the crop tends to rise to the top, as they say. Let's see. Can I do anything to cut out the ads? I can. All right. So, you guys are welcome to help me, potentially. Once I get started, this is to list how many? I don't know exactly how many, but like this is like showing the comic that a character first appeared in DC, and it's right around 500 names. It's around 500 names. I think, it says it's by Chris Nerd1. That's not me, for the record. Although I am a nerd and I am Chris. I'm going to try this. I think I can get to 350. And if you guys end up like throwing out like obscure but well-known characters, then I might take your suggestions. Tell you what, it's going to take a few minutes. I'll try to talk, but we are going to do now a quiz listing all the names I can. Let's see if I can get to 350. Okay, I'll go as fast as I can. So we'll start with things from Detective Comics. I bet Slam Bradley's in there. Yep. Let me see if they just take last names. Ha, they do. Good. That'll speed things up. Good. Batman, Robin, Batgirl, Batwoman, Huntress. Are there any other sort of Batman allies? Leslie Tompkins. We'll do villains. So we've got Hugo, Strange, Hush, Joker, Harley Quinn, Riddler, Catwoman, Penguin, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, right? Renee Montoya. Oh, did take it. Good. Onyx. Mad Monk, I don't think will be well known enough. No. Alfred. Yes. Good ally to have put in. Where did I leave off with villains? Well, we've got like Bane, Ra's al Ghul, Talia, Mad Hatter, Ventriloquist. Okay. Scarface. Okay. Zaz. Yep. Oh, they'll have some of his more super powered ones, right? Man-Bat. Who else would be in there? Killer Croc is big. That makes me think of folks like King Shark, Gorilla Grodd. All right, sorry, I'm getting off. Kite Man? No. Killer Moth? Maybe. Who else? Firefly? Oh, fire. So also ice. Firefly. Dr. Phosphorus. No. Clayface. Yeah. Oh, Clay. Who's just Clay? I don't know. Clayface. Did I put? I think I put Poison Ivy in there. Yeah, I did. Okay. That's a good amount for Batman. I can come back if I'm not thinking of anybody. Scarecrow? Did I put Scarecrow in? That's a pretty big one. Okay. Let's go Superman, Superboy, Supergirl, Steel, Eradicator, Cyborg Superman. Oh, Cyborg, right? So Cyborg Superman, Hector Hammond. Just sometimes certain names are tied together in my thought process while I go here. Yeah, Prankster, Toyman, Trickster. Oh, Zatara. I'll just put in Zatara and I bet I get 2. Yep, I did get 2. Metallo, Luther, Bizarro, Brainiac. Oh, they got Brain. So Monsieur Mala. Brainiac. Brainiac 5? Yep. Lobo, Starro, Amazo, Tio Moro. Yep. Eclipso. I'm trying to go as fast as I can since this is timed. Maxima. Mixia's Pitalik. This is good. You guys are good. Solomon Grundy. And I also saw Vigilante. That makes me think of Jonah Hex and Tomahawk. I don't know. I just don't want to forget it if I think of it. Zod, Jor-El, Lara, Jack Serve, Shaggy Man. No. How about the General? Yep. Let's think of his allies. Lane, Lamaris, Lang, Ross, White, Olsen, Grant. Who are the scientists? Hamilton, Double X, Guardian. Yep. Who else was an ally? Maggie Sawyer, Dan Turpin. Yep. Bibbo. Yep. Oh, Crypto, Streaky. Did I forget some big villains? I think I did Toyman. Yep. Right, the Kents. Yep. Who else? Oh, yeah, somebody just said Element Lad. So let's see. If we do Superboy, you're right. Let's do all of the Lightning Lad, Lightning Lass. We're gonna do what is it? The Legion of Superheroes. There's tons of them. Lightning Lass, Cosmic Boy, Saturn Girl, Sun Boy, Karate Kid, Chameleon, Pharaoh, Mon-El, Ultra Boy, Colossal Boy. Do they have Matter Eater Lad? Invisible Kid? Phantom. Well, there's Phantom Lady, and then there was Phantom Girl. Yep. Ace. I like that one. Good. You guys are good. Triplicate Girl. Yes. You said last, but I think it's Triplicate Girl. Yep. Shrinking Violet. Duo Damsel? No. How about Dream Girl? She's popular now. I'd put in Karate Kid. Oh, Timberwolf. Yep. Shadow Lass. That makes me think of Shade and Shadow Thief. Those are popular villains. Bouncing Boy. Oh, Phantom Stranger. Yeah. And then that makes me think of Spectre. Blue Devil. I'm thinking of like magical people. Detective Chimp was on a team with Blue Devil. Yep. Oh, Doom Patrol. Good point. Let's see. So we've got Beast Boy. We've got Robot Man. We've got the Chief. Elastigirl. We've got Negative Man. So let's Arm Fall Off Boy. It didn't have that. Let's do the Teen Titans. We already have Robin and Beast Boy and Cyborg, so we've got Aqualad, Wonder Girl. That makes me think of Fury. Speedy. Terra. Damage? Was he in? Yeah. Deathstroke is their big enemy. Jericho, his son. Starfire and Raven. Did I put in Trigon, their enemy? Despero, I thought of. Madam Rogue. No, let me put in Drake. Somebody Drake. Kid Flash. Oh, so we'll just do Flash and I'll get it, I bet. How about West? Yep. So all right, we'll do Flash now. We'll do Flash. So there's Zoom. I did Grodd. I did Trickster. So we'll do his big ones. Captain Cold, Mirror Master, Heat Wave. I thought of Killer Frost. Sorry. Weather Wizard. Let me. I don't want to like go away from like sort of a group of heroes until I think I've got them all. Captain Boomerang, which makes me think of the Suicide Squad. So I'll do that next. Fiddler. No, Pied Piper. I think it is. Hunter Zolomon. Oh, yep, got it. Thinker. No, not big enough. I did Trickster. I did Zoom. Rainbow Raider. Let's just think of sort of like on the show, they had Vibe. That makes me think of Gypsy. She was on the Justice League at the same time. And Cyclone. All right, let's jump over to Suicide Squad. So we've got Amanda Waller, Bronze Tiger, Deadshot, Catman, Vandal Savage, Crazy Quilt. No, too obscure. We're guessing the like about the 500 most popular DC characters. I Oracle should be in there because I put in Gordon. Yeah, I already did Grodd. I got Deathstroke. Vixen. Yeah, let's do some and Ray. Makes me think of old characters. Uncle Sam, Liberty Bell. Let's do the Justice Society of America. Justice Society. We had Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Oh, Hawk. Okay, so Hawk and Dove. Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Dr. Fate, Dr. Midnight, Star Spangled Kid. Is that one? Starman, Stargirl. No, Stripe. Hourman, Wildcat, Power Girl, Shazam, Captain Marvel, Black Adam, Garrick, yeah. Oh, you're right. And then, oh, so what about Excess? Yep. Johnny Quick, Max Mercury. Forgot some Flash ones. You're right. Oh, if I say Max Mercury, that makes me think Mercury, tin, gold, platinum, iron, lead, Will Magnus. Yep, the Metal Men. I put in Hourman. Okay, yeah. Somebody says Green Arrow. Green Arrow, Black Canary, Ragman, Mr. Terrific. I'm thinking of superheroes that were on Green Arrow's team on that TV show. Terrific. Okay. Atom. Atom Smasher. Captain Atom. Captain Comet. Okay, if I say Captain Atom, I should put in the Charlton characters. So Peacemaker. Judo Master. Question. Any others? Yeah, Adam Strange. Which makes me think of aliens. Martian Manhunter and Miss Martian. You watched every episode of Comic Tropes? Oh, Tony Wong. That was so fun. I love the Marvels. That's a great series, Jay Smooth. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Right, Blue Beetle. And who goes with him? Booster Gold. Skeets? Were there any other... Did I put in Crimson Fox? I'm thinking of, yeah, Justice League Europe. Metamorpho. He was on The Outsiders with Katana. But who else was on the Justice Society? Rocket Red. Oh, Sergeant Rock, I bet I got. Rocket Red. Other Justice League International members. Fire and Ice. I think I put them in. Oh, but Firestorm and Red Tornado. Good. Jonah Hex. I think I got Jonah Hex. Yep. Yeah, let's Black Lightning. That's a good one. And then there's Thunder, right? Snapper Carr. Yep. All right. Dr. Light was a good villain. And then let's do... Oh, Creeper. That's a good one. And that makes me think... That was Ditko, but now I'm thinking of Jack Kirby, so Etrigan. And let's do the new gods. We've got High Father. We've got Light Ray. We've got Orion. That makes me think of Orion from... Yeah, Orion. That was in Warlord. Yep. Big Barda. Mr. Miracle. Oberon? Yep. Who are some bad guys? Darkseid. Desaad. Did I ever get Mongol? How about Doomsday? Those were some big ones for Superman. I was thinking Darkseid. Made me think of Superman. Darkseid, Desaad, Granny Goodness. Lashina? Okay. Yeah, a lot of you said Granny Goodness. Black Racer. Calabac, I'll try. No. Yeah, not all of them are going to be... Somebody said Commandy. That makes me think of Omac. K, Cobra? Static. Yeah, I did Light Ray. I got Calabac. Steppenwolf? No. I did get Dr. Fate. I did. Forager? No. I think we got the new gods. I haven't done Wonder Woman yet. Wonder Woman. Steve Trevor. Etta Candy. Is Hippolytus separate? No, probably not. I got Wonder Girl from the Teen Titans. Wonder Woman. Her enemies. Ares, Hercules, Cheetah, Giganta, Circe. Oh, that makes me think of Clarion, the Witch Boy, which makes me think of Frankenstein, Shining Knight, Crimson Avenger. That's an obscure one, right? Wild Dog. Don't have him. Did we get Dr. Psycho? No, we didn't. Did we get Dr. Light? No. Baron Artemis? No. That might be all we get for them. Changeling? Oh, well, we got Beast Boy. You're right. Constantine. Which Swamp Thing, Animal Man, Dr. Destiny. No. We got Our Man. Amazing. Sandman. Sandman. Yeah. Oh, Sandman. Yep. Felix Faust. Maxwell Lord. Great one. Sorry, I put in Shade, the Changing Man. I got Kent, and I got Wayne. I got Mixia's. But these are good guesses, folks. Animal Girl? No. I don't think that they'll have... I think that this is just DC. Let me just double check. Rorschach. No. Owl. Owlman? Ultraman? Power Woman, was it? Who was the evil Wonder Woman from like the crime society? There was Power Ring. Got Constantine. Got Ace. Oh, Aquaman. Okay, Aqua Girl. Mara, Dolphin. We already got Aqualad, we know. So Black Manta, though. We need Ocean Master. Superwoman. Yep, that was it. Thanks, everybody. Good. Got Steel. Got Solomon Grundy. These are good. You guys are helping me. We're going to get this together. Human Target. Nope, don't have it. Got Wonder Girl. Cheshire, I just thought of. Bloodsport. Might be too obscure. Yep. All right, let's just get... I bet if I just say Green Lantern, let's see how many I get. A ton. Okay. Blue Lantern. 1. Yellow Lantern. I'll get it. Bet there's at least 2 there. Yep. Red Lantern. Carol Ferris was a lantern of some sort. What's his enemy? Black Hand. Oh, Black Mask. Kalmaku. Yeah, Tom Kalmaku. 6. I don't have to say things like Mogo but just by saying Green Lantern, it gave me them. Black Hawk. Yeah, there'll be 1 or 2 of those. There were a bunch. Sinestro. I think just saying Yellow Lantern, it gave me a Copperhead. I don't know Copperhead. No, didn't get that one. Got Vandal Savage. Got Black Manta. Let's scroll down and see, like, just reading the title of like empty things on the left. Detective Comics 441. I would have been reading around there. Flash 112. Blackfire. Yeah. No. Batwing. How about... This is a really obscure one. Zoriel. Ha! I got Shade. Nemesis? Yep, Nemesis was in there. Danny the Street. I don't know if that's well known enough. Looks like there's 471 to guess. But look, I said I'd get 350. You guys are helping me, but yeah. Anarchy? No. KG Beast? Plastic Man. That makes me think of Elongated Man and Sue Dibney. How about Jean Loring? Yeah. Okay. Azrael, we got Manhunter. Nope, thanks. Crazy. Is it Crazy Jane? I thought it was Crazy Alice. No. Ambush Bug. These are, no. They got to be better known, I guess. Nightshade. Nightshade would be a villain in there. Yep. Got Eclipso. You guys are good. Jonah Hex I did get. Yep. Geoforce. Geoforce is a good one. Got that. Got Ra's al Ghul. Got Zatara and Zatanna. Got Metamorpho. Got Warlord. Parasite. Blockbuster. And I think there's one called Block. Yep. Tried Warlord. Enchantress. That's a good one. Baron Winters? I don't know that one. Wait. No. Got Bizarro. Got Guy Gardner. Flamingo? Might be too recent for whoever made this. Cyborg we got Pharaoh Lad. We got... You guys are good! Neutron, maybe? Monocle? No. Tattooed Man. Oh, Psycho Pirate. Did somebody put that one? Psycho Pirate. Nope, got that. Did I say Harbinger? I'm literally forgetting. Okay, did not. Calendar Man. Tried Rainbow Rider. Yeah, not all of these are in there. Clock King. Nope. Diablo. Nope. Talon? Yeah, good guess. I like that. Got Harley real early on. Cain and Abel, you're right. Good. That was a good one. I like that. Chairface Chippendale. Don't have so much fun, guys. We're down to under a minute. Thank you for bearing with me. Who else did we not get here that should be obvious? We've got 390. That's pretty darn good. Showcase number 6, a couple names. Strange Adventures 205. Did I put in Lady Shiva? Nope. Who's Firestorm's enemy? Firehawk? Yep. Just thought of that. Got Plastic Man, got Montoya. Xanadu? Madam Xanadu, right? Madam Xanadu. That, no. Maybe with an X? Xanadu. Oh, that was it. The Floronic Man. I could do this untimed, by the way. I could do this untimed. But, oh, okay. There we go, folks. You guys were great. You helped me out a lot. It says I got 84%, and obviously you guys helped me. Average score is 151. We smashed that together. See, I probably would not have gotten 394 by myself within 20 minutes. I think if I had it untimed, I could probably get close to that. But that's awesome, folks. Thank you so much. That was a blast. I know that was a really weird thing to do. I knew that was a really weird thing to do, but thank you very much. That was fun. Let's go ahead and take this off, and we'll do a look at some comics and do some comic art with our powers combined. Yes. Group mind. Group mind. Whoa. Oh, I closed it. You're right. If there is a Marvel one, then yes, we could do that. That was fun. Thank you. That was fun. That was really, really fun. That score is good. I think if we did it untimed, there's a good chance we could probably get over 90%. Marvel is something I know better, but I don't. I was looking for like comic book quizzes, and that was so many that I was like, oh, that's one we should do online. I think for Marvel, like the most I've seen is only 100 names, and I feel like that's not as hard. That was very fun. Well, then maybe I'll do it again next week or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it was a site I sometimes use to kill time if I'm bored, like at work, if it's totally dead. It's called Jetpunk. And all it is user-submitted quizzes. The ones I tend to do are all like, like geography and history. Like I can list all the countries of the world or something like that. But then I realized that there are some nerdy ones. And I was like, oh, got to do that on the show then. We didn't try the Wonder Twins. I feel like based on what I was seeing, they probably weren't in there, but you don't know. You don't know. I bet that there were a few Legion characters that we didn't get. I wish I hadn't closed it. I'm so sorry that I closed it because we could have looked at which ones we missed. There were probably a few that were obvious and a few that we were never going to get. Let's see what I've got here. I'm going to present an extra camera. And let me zoom it in a little. I didn't get a ton of comics this week, so I don't have a lot to say, but I'll go over briefly some of the ones that I had, and then I'll do some drawing with you guys if you got some time. Let me adjust that angle a little bit more. And then I think I zoom in a little more. Did I read any comics this week? A few. I didn't read a ton this week. Actually, you know what? That's better. That's a little more zoomed in. I would say I'm not even going to go too deep into some of these, but Fantastic Four I put on my top 10 list of the year. And I continue to say this is a really nice book. Oh, you know what? Joe Dent, you asked Tobias Whale. I don't think I put in Black Lightning. Anyway. Each issue tends to basically be its own adventure, okay? This one does follow up a little from last week, but it's a really cool idea. Basically, the Fantastic Four goes up against an artificial intelligence. Is it good? Is it evil? Is it unknowable? Previously, this tech guy created an algorithm, a machine that uses everybody's phone to constantly be gathering data. He sort of created these games, but they're gathering data, and it allows him to predict on massive scales trends so that he could make money. Okay. What he didn't realize is that it was so clever, it basically became self-aware. And it treats each phone as a neuron in a brain. How would something that smart go up against, somebody really smart like the Fantastic Four? So a lot of these look like, it's just people talking to people with phones, but like we've got a huge danger of this sentience being able to control all sorts of stuff. And Reed Richards is smart enough to find a way to communicate with it and understand it and get itself to be understood. It's really beautiful. I don't want to spoil everything about it, but what I will say, by the way, this is not anything literal. This is Alex Ross playing with the idea of what's called metamind. Yes, they accidentally tried to kill it last week, not knowing that it was self-aware. So it perceives that as a threat. But it's kind of pretty. Ugly lettering. Didn't you complain about lettering last week? I don't think this lettering is bad. It's not perfect. I will admit that. It's not perfect. I don't love these tails, but... Oh, you can't really even see that. I have to... Not Megamind, no. Sounds like person of interest. Never saw that. Wally has a point. This is like a super long, thin tail. This is sort of like a curved small tail. And then these are like uncurved, angular middle tail. So that's not very consistent in some ways, but I don't think it's ugly. I think it reads pretty clearly. All I can say is I don't want to spoil it because each issue is sort of a sci-fi mini mystery. And it helps establish the Fantastic Four as scientists and family. It's really nice. So I like that. Birds of Prey is a really fun story by Kelly Thompson. The normal artist, Leonardo Romero, is out this week. So there's a guest artist. What's the artist's name? Hold on. I've never come across this artist before. It was credited in the back. Arist Deyn. And Arist Deyn is a fine artist. This is not a bad fill-in issue, but I do prefer Leonardo Romero as the normal artist. It took me out of the book a little because this is a very stylized, bright, sort of cartoony stuff, which is fine. It's not bad at all. It really isn't. It's just the normal artist is the person that did this cover, which is just a little bit more like a classic Alex Toth, just enough lines to make it work, and a lot of smart ideas with motion. So I really prefer the regular artist. It's so hard. That is the constant question. Would you prefer on these serialized books, would you prefer to have late books with, the best artist? Would you prefer to get the story regularly with the occasional fill-in artist? I don't know the perfect answer to that, by the way. It might depend on the book. I just really like this artist. Leonardo has been doing some really interesting things with using like the DeLuca effect to show action, occasionally using 2-page spreads for big action scenes. I feel like the pacing is fantastic there, and that this is good art, like better than I could do for sure, but that it might benefit a different book. This might benefit like a less grounded action adventure story. Like maybe this artist is fine on something like, I'm just coming up with it, Teen Titans or I don't know what else, Suicide Squad or something. But Birds of Prey is actually sort of like a little more grounded, a little more. Here's another one. Again, I really like the Mark Waid run on Shazam. And this issue promises versus Black Adam. We do get a little of this. Normally, Dan Mora is the artist. Dan Mora has been doing fantastic things in this book. But in this, we get a fill-in artist, someone I'm not familiar with, Goran Sudzuka. Not bad at all, okay? Not bad. But that's a lot less engaging and exciting to me as a page than what Dan Mora tends to do. I don't know what to say. Like, this is acceptable. It's not like I'm seeing things where I'm like, boy, the anatomy there is pretty bad. Or that's hard to read. But it's a lot simpler. It's just not as engaging. This is not bad, right? In fact, I actually quite like what he did with the foreground Shazam here, but I find Black Adam just a little bland somehow. Although if I drew like that, I'd be very proud of myself. So whatever. It's still a fun story, okay? But technically, by the way, even this Fantastic Four issue, usually Eben Coelho is credited as the regular artist. This is Ivan Fiorelli, who's been doing a lot of these issues, but it's sort of like, that's 3 issues that I like that are all done by fill-in artists. The only one that had the regular artist has also had some fill-in art, but Batman by Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. And Jimenez's art escalates this because I would say Chip Zdarsky is a writer I really admire most of the time. I don't totally love his Batman run. It's a little bit sci-fi for my tastes. And I like Batman to sometimes be sci-fi, but we're dealing with cyborgs and artificial intelligence. We're dealing with multiverse travel. It's a lot. This issue grounds it a little bit more, but the thing is, this robot that he created, Failsafe, is currently home to Batman's backup personality. If that sounds complex, it's sort of like, it worked well as a Silver Age story. Grant Morrison explored the idea of Zur-En-Arrh, his backup personality, fine. But as an ongoing concern, I'm like, you can do it in comics, and I don't hate it, but I'm also sort of like, just this idea that Batman created multiple personalities for himself, like created it. It's sort of like an interesting idea to explore briefly. And if we're going to look at it like on a long timeline, that gets pretty sci-fi that he created that. It's a little too sci-fi for me usually. This issue, fortunately, is mostly Batman on the run without any real resources in, like, the wintry woods, from a threat. So fortunately, like, this is pretty cool action. Batman just getting in a regular ass car, running from sort of a Terminator-esque robot. It's good. It looks great. The art saves it, no question. The only other thing I want to point out is this bizarre manga that I came across called Innocent. And I came across it because the artist, Shinichi Sakamoto, did a book I loved this year called #DRCL. It's a reimagining of the Dracula legend where all the main protagonist sort of heroes, not Dracula, but like all the human characters are school age, and they're all in like a private boarding school. I feel like it makes them a little more vulnerable and that the story is pretty dangerous. So I love the art. The art was detailed. So I decided to pick this up. And this is a very fictionalized account of a real life person who was the royal executioner for France, who famously beheaded the king of France eventually, among other people. It's an interesting book. The Sansons. It goes into the Sanson family. The art is very intricately detailed. I believe this is primarily done digitally, probably on a much bigger scale because the art can be just so fine-tuned. The only thing I don't like is a lot of the backgrounds are kind of clearly a photo that's had a filter applied to it, and it doesn't always work. I'm trying to see if I could find maybe a good example of that. A lot of the art is good, but some of this just sort of looks a little bit too much like a filter's been applied over a photo. So it doesn't always match, like the line art versus the background. The background can just not quite look the same. That's actually not a totally bad one. But actually, if you look at it really closely, like, you'll see how the line art is done for the person. It's very fine line art. Whereas this will sort of have like weird grayscale effects because it's been sort of posterized. By the way, this is also like, it has this parental advisory, and it will be like, sealed because there is like sex and nudity and beheadings and stuff. So this is a very adult book. I'm trying not to show anything too extreme. It's a fairly gay book at times. The main character feels he's innocent, even though he's an executioner, because he does not want to be an executioner, but his family, that's his family business, and he's pushed into it. And he decides to occasionally be kind and like find a way to, quickly strangle the person by cutting off the carotid artery so that they don't have to suffer the extreme violence that they're supposed to be subject to. It's pretty weird. Let me draw a little. Although it has been 2 hours, so I'm not going to draw for long. I started this last week, and I thought I'd just continue a bit of it. I decided to sort of draw what I imagined as a G.I. Joe cover. Now, the odds of me ever getting that as an assignment are next to zero, but I love G.I. Joe, and I thought I'd just do it for the heck of it, because you never know. And I've thought of an idea of how to bump up the tension in this, because I was going to draw, this is going to be in the jungle. I'm going to have a lot of shadows and stuff, and I'm going to have Stalker, like about to take out this cobra. Okay. But then I thought, what would like bump it up another notch? What if in the like sort of in the jungle back here, I had the silhouette of maybe Zartan aiming a bow and arrow at Stalker. So like, yeah, like this soldier's about to get taken out, but we don't know that this soldier that's sneaking up on him may also be in extreme danger. I thought that would be a cool way to elevate the stakes of what I was drawing. Anyway, I'm going to go for it and just see if it comes out all right. So I didn't read tons of comics this week. Did any of you read any that you would recommend that maybe I've missed? Because I have to admit that's for me a fairly light week these days. But I get a few things that I wouldn't always read just to see if it's worth talking about on this show. So I'm getting like more comics than I would for just myself. He's recognizable. That's so nice to say. That's nice of you, Kevin. Thank you. Think we'll see any Steamboat Willie comics in the future? Probably. And have I been reading Coda? No, I haven't. I saw some of the things people said that they're reading. Duke, yes. Dracula, right? The one by Skybound, right? Fall of X. Mm-hmm. Bought a bunch of Gargoyle comics. Nice. I have not been reading Coda. No. What was I just thinking of? Sorry. I'm blanking slightly. Shoot, I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say. It couldn't have been too important then. Couldn't have been too important. It's frustrating, though. I felt like I had a point, something interesting to talk about, and it's just completely eluded me. Anybody got any like conventions or anything coming up? Oh, speaking of G.I. Joe, though, no, I actually haven't seen Thief. Speaking of G.I. Joe, I did get something this week, and I would love to show it, but it is just too big to easily even fit on this desk. I supported a Kickstarter for something called like the Art of G.I. Joe. There's a guy named Carson who runs the website 3D Joe's, and he has a book. It's just hundreds and hundreds of pages of really high resolution photos of every single action figure and like vehicle or playset from the vintage line, as well as every piece of artwork that was created to, promote the show or the comic or the toys or a contest or a book is just incredible. It's the most comprehensive thing you really could imagine. It's insanely big. It's 18 pounds, folks. The book is 18 pounds. So while I'd love to show it, it's just too big. My friend Hooded Cobra Commander 788 has a channel, and he did a nice look at the book. It's really nice if you like G.I. Joe. Was there ever a G.I. Joe artist? Not technically. However, in a way, yes. Most of the art on the action figure cards was done by a guy named Hector Garrido, who's sadly passed away now. He worked for an advertising agency that Hasbro contracted with, and Garrido did most of the file card artwork. So if you think of like, G.I. Joe with the explosion behind, like whether that's Stock or Flint or Cobra Commander, yeah, that's Hector Garrido is his name. Yeah, let's see. The movie might be relatable to you. The protagonist is a car salesman. I like Michael Mann, so I'll definitely consider checking it out. I don't feel like I totally identify myself first and foremost as a car salesman. That's just what I do to get a roof over me head. Yes, $150 it is. It's quite steep, but it's if you like G.I. Joe, it's really nice to have. A G.I. Joe character whose job was an artist. I don't know if there was one. Well, there was one. There was one whose job was like to go ahead and like draw maps, like he was a scout or something, I think. Also, there's different types of art. Roadblock is a chef. I don't know. Cobra Commander was a used car salesman, yes. Going to MegaCon the first weekend of February, and the Frazetta Museum the weekend after that. I'd love to see that someday, the Frazetta Museum. That was so nice having Sarah on this show at one point, Sarah Frazetta. She's really done a lot to ensure her grandfather's legacy. It's beautiful. This has been a nice evening for me, folks. I started this actually with a tremendous headache, and I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to be able to do the whole show, but I feel better now than when I started. So thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate that. You being here and just getting to talk about comics has really, helped me feel a lot better actually than when I started this stream. I just realized that like I don't really feel the headache anymore, so that's kind of nice. Oh, that's fun. Grand Slam's file card says he reads comics. I'll have to go back to that book and read that file card. What would my code name be? So believe it or not, back in the 80s, I think it was like 89 or 90. No, it was probably more like 87 or 88. They actually did have the ability to, you could make yourself as a G.I. Joe in the sense that they all looked the same. It was like a soldier with a helmet. It's called the Steel Brigade. And you could create the file card information for it. And you had to come up with a code name. I was very young. My code name was Whirlwind. Pretty generic. The Frazetta estate used to have a small museum in Pennsylvania. It wasn't in Pittsburgh. It was in the small town. I've been there. It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't think it's still around, to be honest. If it is, I don't know who's running it. Interesting to think about, because now that you say that, I'm like, yeah, I don't know what happened to that. You know, the Frazetta family, like he had a bunch of sons and daughters, and I think after the parents were gone, like the siblings kind of, I don't think they all got along, to be honest. But I don't know the full history there. I'll probably wrap it up soon, even though I love drawing and I love chatting with all of you. But yeah, it's been 2 hours. I want to have some dinner, but I also am hard at work on the next Comic Tropes episode. The reason this one's taken so long, I'm dealing with work and jury duty. So can't really talk about that, but got jury duty. And so that's really eaten into my time. Like, yeah. Normally I have these days off from work, and I work weekends and have some of the week itself off to work on my show, but that time is now taken up with jury duty, so not great. I did not read the Aubrey Sitterson run. I've only read the Larry Hama run. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's slowing me down, folks. Sorry. Not much I can do about it. Not much I can do about it. It is what it is. It is. But I sincerely appreciate everybody joining tonight. Trying to think if there's anything else that I was going to talk about for comics this particular week. I don't think so. Oh, you know what? I can think of one last thing. Tell you what, let's see. A courtroom sketch G.I. Joe cover. I wonder if they'd let me bring my art tools and just sort of doodle when I'm not. Nah, I don't think I'd be able to. It is my civic duty. Interesting. That didn't come up as a way that I could get dismissed. Because I do sort of technically run my own business by doing YouTube, but yeah. There is, I think, a Thundercats comic. There is one coming out from Dynamite, written by Declan Shalvey, but no, it's not this week. It's in about a month. Actually, Declan is probably willing to come on the show to talk it up. So if you like that, I should have something in a few weeks. What else? Let me take this off. I think I unfortunately can't do a whole lot on that tonight. But I thought of one more thing related to comics that I didn't have in the news. There is a artist out there in comics, primarily an inker, and he's worked on a lot of things that you'd have read. Mark Waid's Tower of Babel run. What else? The Grant Morrison Action Comics run on Superman. Guy I'm talking about is named Mark Probst. I'm going to add something just so that you guys know what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, Mark has just gotten older and he needs some help, unfortunately. Fortunately, he has hit his goal here. As you can see, there's a GoFundMe to help him from becoming homeless. I hate coming across stories like this for comic artists. Mark's story is, somewhat unique. He doesn't have really any family or close friends to sort of fall back on. And the industry, like, he still gets offered work, he says, but there's a problem. He can't always compete as fast as some of the other inkers. And that's because a lot of modern inkers these days have what's called a blue line ink printer, as in they can print high-res pencils directly onto like a Bristol board and ink that, scan it, and send it back to DC. They don't need the original art, which, can take a day to ship each way. Well, those 2 days, like in production time, are very, very important. He doesn't have that tool. He can't really, he says, afford it. And so sometimes he'll get offered the work, but if he knows he can't hit the deadline, he can't get it. So he's in a tough situation right now. He talks about some of his work here. You could also like Google his name and you might find some other stories. He's only 60, which isn't like old, but he's had some tough financial times and he's facing eviction from his current place. He's still, he does a lot of commissions these days, but he realizes he's probably been selling them too cheap to like really pay the bills at the price that he does. So he's going to make some adjustments there. Hopefully he'll continue to get some work from like DC and stuff like that. But I thought it was worth at least sharing because, if somebody's in this bad shape, if you can do $5 or something, $1 from like, 20 of you, that probably helps this guy a lot. So again, his name is Mark Probst, Propst. He's an inker. He's also been a penciler for a lot of stuff like in the mid 80s, the indie area. If you were in a position to help a little bit, this is definitely somebody that could currently use your help. So I thought I'd share that. I shared it on Twitter and it did get a good amount of retweets and stuff like that. And I went back and it looked like a lot of people had been able to donate some small amounts here and there. I thought I'd at least share it. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. Okay. Decent way to sort of close. Just, you can look that up again. Mark Probst, Propst. So I think that'll do it for tonight. Yeah, we talked some comics, we did a quiz, we did a little bit of art, and we did a lot of comic book news. I think that's a pretty good variety show for comics. I don't know about you. I think it's probably the best show about comics, minus the fully edited things that I do over at Comic Tropes. Plug. So if you want to hit like and subscribe, always appreciate that. Working on this episode, I think even with work and jury duty and stuff that I should be able to have it finished. I've recorded my episode. I've downloaded just about all the images I think that I should need. I'm just in the process of editing it together. I should be able to do that at night and have it out this coming weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that's about it, everybody. But thank you so much for joining me. It means a lot. Thank you for all the nice words that are being said in the chat right now. And I will see you in a week. You'll see me probably sooner if you check out Comic Tropes, because I'll have I think an episode out this weekend. It should be good. Thanks, everybody. Keep reading comics. Tell you what, we started with the double salute. We end with the double salute. You earned it. Take care, everybody.